Huh? 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 Huh?
I am very well aware of the fact there's probably some people who have seen these videos and gone, yo, what's all this about? What is this Armageddon system? Who are these marauders? What's an Imperium? What traitors do you speak of? Emperor? Who is this Emperor you speak of? And honestly, valid questions. So, I've got this meme that I stole from YouTube that was taken from Discord that should quickly explain everything about the Emperor I spoke about. I am aware how unhelpfully helpful that was. Anyways, if you're still super lost and the beginning didn't make sense and the title of this video probably throw you for a loop, let's make something clear. No, I'm not smoking plastic like it's crack cocaine. No. Instead, actually, I recently got into this hobby that's kind of addicting called wargaming. I'll go over the basics and the nuances later, but to summarize everything, I recently got into wargaming, specifically Warhammer 40,000, which we are going to refer to as either Warhammer 40k or 40k from now on. And I'm also eyeing up Star Wars Legion as a war game to play as well. If you want more details, well, let's sniff some plastic glue and get right into it. Please, please do not actually sniff the plastic glue. I can't believe I have to make this disclaimer. It's not good for you at all. That was a joke. Don't do it. So you're probably sitting here wondering, what the hell is wargaming? Well, simply put, if I take the exact definition from Wikipedia, wargaming is, and I quote, a strategy game in which two or more players command opposing armed forces in a simulation of an armed conflict. That is a mouthful. Now, whether it's used for actual military training and planning for future potential conflicts, or as recreational hobby to simulate wars and battles that have been going on, wargaming's been around since it was quote-unquote invented in Prussia back in the 19th century. After Prussia used it to kick France's ass for probably, the millionth time in history, the rest of the world began to basically adopt the practice, and eventually a bunch of nerds who wanted to pretend they were tactical operator bros brought the practice into the hobby side of things. Look, I'm not a textbook. I'm not here to give you a word-for-word explanation of everything. Go do some further research if you're interested. I'm here to just summarize the information I bothered to actually research, unlike my army list that I spent so much time perfecting and designing only to get clapped my opponent's the main character, and I'm here to be the punching bag. So, what kind of war games have I gotten into? Why do I call it plastic crack? Why does the title say it's an addiction? Excellent questions! Obviously, there's a lot of war games out there. I've already mentioned two, but some of the other iconic ones that I'm at least aware of out there include Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Kill Team. There's a lot of Warhammer ones. Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Shatterpoint, Bolt Action, Conflict 47. I'm gonna be honest, I'm too lazy to keep going through the list, but there's plenty of them out there. I know there's at least one with the Halo IP, there's one with the Marvel IP, and there's currently a StarCraft one in the works as far as I'm aware. Personally, like I said before, been playing a lot of 40k, and I've learned and played both Kill Team as well as Star Wars Legion. I don't want to get too far into the detail, as I do want to make separate videos for 40k as well as separate videos for Star Wars Legion. However, unlike my love life, I actually do have some commitment issues when it comes to making any form of series on YouTube, so I might as well be brief about things. Warhammer. Yes, there's both Age of Sigmar and 40k. No, don't you dare make an Age of Sigma joke in my freaking comment section. Sigmar is AOS, which is Age of Sigmar. AOS is fantasy, 40k is basically space fantasy. I would call it sci-fi, but it doesn't exactly hit that. It's more of like a space opera. And if you know me, you know I love Star Wars, you know I'm obsessed with it. Space operas are my thing. So, I went with 40k. To generally summarize everything, kind of make the setting make any amount of sense, you have 3 main groups. One of them's not even a group, it's just a conglomerate of chug trucks. The first one is the Imperium. It's the humanity faction, and pretty much they constantly got knocked around by aliens and demons in the full galaxy. They went full authoritarian regime, and because apparently some clankers led some revolution long before some big 10-foot dude with a glowing halo or something, calling himself the Emperor, showed up. Their whole aesthetic is not really like, ooh, super technologically advanced, but it's more like steampunk, old school. You can see how a lot of like the average guardsmen, which are your basic humans slugging it out against the galaxy, have like very old-fashioned aesthetics, and a lot of the others, while looking technologically advanced-esque, have more of a steampunk to it. Realistically, the Imperium is not a fun place to live, but I like supporting humanity in most, if not all, settings, both fantasy and space. I literally rooted for the humans in the Blue People Avatar movies, so... Nah, I'm just kidding. But still, you get the point. You've got all the Imperium with their many sub-factions, I'm not getting into that today. You have the various Xenos factions, the aliens basically, that come from all different walks of life. This is what I meant by the conglomeration not really being a thing, or more of a conglomeration than the actual group or faction. But, moving on. The last one is you have the Damned and the Ever-Evil Chaos, which is essentially space demons. I have a bias, I'll be blunt. I have always hated demons and demonic kind, regardless whether religious or not in life. So naturally, with that plus my hatred for the alien, I obviously went for the Imperium. Since I was new to everything, I ended up picking up Space Marines because I've never built plastic models before or anything. We'll get into that later, but I picked up Space Marines. I specifically picked up this cool looking chapter called the Dark Angels. They looked cool, they seemed cool, their lore stuck out to me, so I went full send. I refuse to go in this further because this video is going to end up being half an hour or longer. I am going to make a Dark Angels video later, that's spoilers. Now, moving on. Star Wars Legion. Naturally, as you've probably already known, I love Star Wars. Core childhood right there, peak. Now, there's only 5 available factions as of right now, and the 5th one's not really a faction at the moment. You've got the Classic Rebellion, you've got the Galactic Empire, you've got the Galactic Republic, you've got the Separatist Alliance. The 5th one is a mercenary faction, but they don't really have their own unique rules or individuality, and the only way you can currently run mercenaries is either as parts of other armies or in one specific way to build them, which is the Shadow Collective. Now, I haven't spent as much as the Legion as I have gotten into 40k, but I have played as both the Empire and the Republic, learning how the game works and such. I do want to try the Rebels and the Separatists before I lock in a faction, because I don't have the kind of money to be able to buy all 4 of them. So don't expect me to be sitting here and being like, oh, I bought all 5 factions. Like, I don't have the kind of money. But we're not here to talk about money. At least, not yet. You've probably noticed something big about the war games that I've been talking about, whether it's Warhammer or it's been Star Wars Legion and all the other ones I mentioned before. And that's the plastic miniatures. Or if you bought it to go for a company that still makes them with these, resin. I prefer the hard plastics personally. Better to work with, I enjoy it more. But this is the plastic crack. Miniatures, usually really cool, really well designed, but you do have to assemble them on your own and then usually paint them up. Yeah, You heard me right. You assemble them, and then you paint them. Doesn't come ready out of the box, sadly. I've never held a paintbrush in my life unless we count, playing through Epic Mickey until I got into this hobby. And yet the ability to paint your own miniatures how you want to, bringing your own flavors of customization and individuality into your own personal army collection is kind of what drew me in the most. I'm no longer bound and stuck to like set cosmetic options in video games where I have to choose preset or pre-made options for me. Like, oh, you're stuck playing 501st Legion, stuck playing 212th Battalion, 327, etc. in like Star Wars Battlefront 2. I can paint up a clone army in my own custom homebrew army colors. I love it. Wish I'd learned that lesson faster when I started out instead of just picking the Dark Angels with their long established army and lore and painting them in that scheme. The best part of this hobby, honestly, I'm going to give the generic answer here. Making friends, getting to be creative, and getting to disconnect from staring at technology and focusing on like actual live games in front of me. Sure, I still use my phone to track the game scores and the rules and all, but you get the point. Look, I work 8+ hours in an office staring at computer screens all day. Getting to do something that isn't just staring at computer screens for another 4 or 5 hours is actually kind of nice. However, that is not to say the plastic crack doesn't come at a cost. And a rather hefty one at that.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. This is a really expensive hobby. You're going to break your wallet and your bank account unless you either A, rob a bank, B, you're Henry Cavill, who's probably the one person who can actually afford these kind of hobbies, or C, you somehow manage to get Henry Cavill as your sugar daddy, which I would be really jealous. But I digress. Luckily, there are options. eBay exists. You can buy stuff from people there who are selling things at a discounted price. 3D printers exist if you want to print your own stuff. Not that I use that option currently, but the options exist. They can make the hobby cheaper, they make it more accessible, and opens doors for you if you're insane or meticulous or just straight up autistic to go ahead and just make your own war game. Don't do that, in my opinion, unless you are crazy enough to be able to pull it off. So, yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know what else to ramble about without turning this into like an hour plus or half an hour or something video where I actually talk about like my experience with 40K and more in depth, or like my experience with Legion and more in depth and such. I just want to make this like a semi pseudo update for the channel. Um, Wanted to talk about wargaming, especially since I've had a couple of people definitely ask me like what's up with these videos. Um, by the way, tangent, what the heck are these videos? Warhammer has this thing called Crusades where they're very narrative events or things that you can do. Usually you have like multiple teams and you just kind of run through battles and events and do certain things, and it's a lot of bookkeeping. But I figured for my local group, I would go ahead and do some narrative videos to kind of make the crusade more interesting. And it kind of took off. And surprisingly, I'm probably going to keep doing those in the future if I have the time. So this is also kind of a bit of an explanation for those who aren't in the loop or aren't aware of what's going on. And maybe you end up finding them interesting. Maybe you want some more context. Like, this is the context. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. Um, I'm going to be adding some more of these wargaming kind of videos. I'm going to keep also trying to find time to add video games back to the channel. Um, I'll be honest, I completely forgot to ever upload or record my time on Malevelon Creek, and I forgot to upload the footage of me defending Super Earth and Helldivers. So at this point, with the current march to Cyberstan, I'm just going to have to start recording and posting those. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video somehow despite being unhelpful, and you've either learned something new, got a kick out of my rambling, or maybe you've discovered that there's a hobby out there that you weren't aware of that might potentially interest you. Go check out a local game store, Next video is in some way, shape, or form 40K related. There are two options. It's either going to be the finale wrap up to the Crusade, because I have been really behind in making that with a bunch of travel, personal things, and getting sick a lot. Or it's going to be me rambling about like my time playing Dark Angels, how I got into the hobby, and kind of my future steps and what I'm thinking from there. So you learned something either way. There's a bit of a spoiler there for the next video, assuming I actually decide to commit to this one. Ugh. Now that something finally makes sense, I would hope, I'm going to just sign off here. Hope y'all have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tactical. See y'all next time.